Okay. Hopefully that worked. Yay! Okay, good. All right, cool. Awesome. All right. I'm just going to wait for people to come in, and then we can get to it. So, hi, it's a new day. Good to see you. Good to see you, Deb. Yeah. So, hi, how are you doing? How you doing? It's good to see you. Hi, Goddess. Hello. Listening while working. Awesome. Hey, Moonbeam. Hi. So tonight's going to be a long one, guys. That's why I had to postpone it an hour, because I definitely realized that I needed to add more stuff to it because it's never ending. So, but yeah, so I'm just gonna wait and see if anybody else wants to come in and hang out with us. And it's gonna be a fun topic tonight. And I say that as a joke because, like, well, I shouldn't even joke about it because it's gonna be just not great. So hi, Pinky. Hello. How's it going, guys? Yeah. Also, if you guys feel like it, go ahead and drop links to your channels. Listening and working, awesome. Sounds good. Yeah. So if you guys have anything that you want to promote or, share links to, please do. Yeah. Narf. That used to be like one of my favorite cartoons, by the way. So, hi, Angel Eyes. Hello. And I still remember the theme song, so I'm not gonna sing it because, like, I need to be serious. Cooking and listening. Okay, it's a new day, knows. You know, no. I loved Pinky. I just really identified with him. And Animaniacs. Yep. Okay. Yep. I'm not gonna go too far down that rabbit hole. No. Yeah. Pinky was my favorite. So, what are we gonna do tonight, Brian? Same thing we do every night, Pinky. So, hi, Partnet. Hello. Good to see you guys. It's good to see everybody coming in. Yeah. Disclaimer: today's going to be a little heavy, but it's for a good cause. I love you too. But yeah, so it's for a good cause. I think it's something that we need to discuss. I actually did get to talk about it with It's a New Day, an artist, when they were on. What was that, like last week or so? Was it last week? Oh, of course, don't mind my cat. No, I think maybe it was last week. I can't remember now, but we did get to talk about, like, kind of how common it is for kids to, last Friday, okay, how common it is for kids. Hi, Lisa. Hello. It's so good to see everyone. But how common it is for kids to kind of go down. I apologize. At some point, I may have to feed him too, just to get him to be quiet. But I did feed him some dry food right before I started. But I think he ate through that already. So I apologize for my loud cat. You better be quiet. Don't tell me what to do, lady. Yeah. All right. So, but yeah, I hope everybody's having a good week so far. I've seen that there's been a ton of bad weather. Hi, Iron. Hello. Lots of mods on this channel. Yeah, do you want? Would you like a wrench, Angel Eyes? I like the blue. It's comforting. So, um, but yeah, so we'll get started here in just a little bit. Um, I also have a clip that I want to bring up from a podcast that I watched recently. The Julian Dorian podcast, or Julian Dory. I don't know why I always want to call him Dorian. He's doing color commentary. Yeah. Sure, thanks. You want one? The first and only wrench I've ever had. I feel, oh, Moonbeam, that's so sweet. I have to give you a wrench in the. Let me see. Yeah, I have to do it via the YouTube, otherwise it. Ooh, it is being spicy with me. I don't like that. Yeah. There you go, Angel Eyes. You should be. Hi, Deb. Yeah, everybody that's driving, please focus on driving. Again, not going to be the happiest of subjects, but it's important to cover. So hopefully that works. Oh, yeah, good. It did work. Okay. So let me pull up the. How did I do that? Okay, good. So I did not know what to name this, so I just called it When Proximity Becomes Vulnerability, because, I was seeing in different comment sections and videos that people were dismissing, the importance of Adam Bridge, which, if you guys don't know, he, maybe that was last Sunday. I think it was the 19th. Because it was the 18th that I got the text that said that, yay, thank you. Thank you, it's a new day. Hey, artist. Oh, you need a wrench too. Everybody needs a wrench. Whoa, why is it not? Oh, okay. I think because I got some water under the case and now my phone is not letting me. It's good to see you, artist. Yeah, so actually It's a New Day and Artist. They came on, I think I know that I got the text on the 18th about Adam Bridge, and the person that sent it to me was like, oh, this is a relative of Libby's. And just for people who don't know, Adam Bridge is, yes, he is related to Libby. I think he is he's her uncle, but either he is like a stepbrother or a half brother to Libby's biological mother, Carrie Timmons. So, and he got found out. Yeah. And thank you again for coming on, guys, to talk about it. Like, I would love to have you guys back on because you guys know so much of the history of what goes on there. And so thank goodness, we had It's a New Day and Artist to confirm that that was in fact true. This man that had been arrested in Florida, he was in fact related to Libby. And I saw that a lot of people were like, oh, it doesn't matter. He is a half brother. Okay, thank you. And I was like, regardless of whether or not he was involved like in the actual murders, it always matters. Whenever the immediate environment around the child has, that kind of stuff surrounding the child. So, and then I got to thinking about all the many years of the many rumors of people talking about how all the kids were engaging in exchanging photos, explicit photos of themselves. And that tracks because that's what kids today are doing. So if kids had the capacity and the ability to do it back then, it's, I I would guess that it was very likely that that's what people were getting up to back then as well. So it's just that it was more taboo back then. It was kind of new. People weren't talking about it. It didn't help that they lived in the rural Midwest, where you don't talk about that kind of stuff. And so, there was kind of a whole bunch of factors that came together that made sure that it wasn't going to be easy to talk about. Okay. Hi, Digital. Yay. Okay, cool. Awesome. So yeah, so I kind of went down my own little rabbit hole. It's not, this is not, I'm reserving, too much speculation because I just don't have the knowledge. But, I do think that anytime this kind of stuff shows up in a child's life, no matter, oh, hi, Monday. Hi, Sandifer. Okay. Okay, yeah, Monday, remind me about that. Because, the only, oh, it's good to see you, Iron. Yeah. Bible Belt with closets full of secrets. That's very well said. It's a new day. Yeah. I got out of the Midwest in 2011, but, I still consider it my home, and I grew up all through grade school and high school going to Catholic school. So I can very much relate to, you would not talk about this kind of stuff. Like, I remember, this is going to be, I don't know if I should say this, but there was a guy in my grade that I remember, like, there had been some sort of party. It was either my junior or senior year. And a ton of people had gone to this party and gotten drunk. And this one guy, he ended up getting drunk. And then, he ended up doing something with another girl in my grade. And he came to school like, oh my gosh, like, this girl totally violated me and stuff. I mean, he was like bragging about it though and stuff. And I just remember being like, first of all, what are you complaining about? Of course, like, you have to make yourself a victim while also being whatever, but it's just, nobody knew how to talk about sex. So it became this awkward taboo thing, and, Catholic school was crazy too. It was crazy, guys. That's all I'm going to say. All right. That's all I'm going to say. So, with that in mind, let's get down to it. So, there's a reason why proximity matters. Children can be endangered by neglect, secrecy, predation, boundary violations, long before a final violent act occurs. And if one of the Delphi victims was reportedly communicating with a catfish account shortly before her death, then the larger question becomes, what risks were already surrounding this child's world, right? Because that's a perfectly normal question to ask. So I will say there are sensitive claims that explicit material involving minors existed on phones or in peer circles. I cannot independently verify those details. Like, only law enforcement would be able to. And today's discussion is not meant to shame children. Rather, it's meant to examine the risk environments that adults may have exploited. And I will say they did exploit with the likes of Keegan Kline, because he's literally, in prison for a long time. Oh, hi, Nancy. Sorry if they're okay, cool. My StreamYard chat is kind of slow to update, but yeah, it's good to see everybody. Um yeah, it's good. So I will say the murder may be the headline, but the unsafe ecosystem is the deeper story here. All right. Because like let's be for real. There's an entire aspect of this case that involves child exploitation that was not fully examined or investigated. Right? Like I can confidently say that I do not think it was fully investigated. Especially if you have hi Kelt, hello, saying the things they don't want to say. Those girls were surrounded by drug use and dealing, and yeah, I agree. I agree, Kelt, because let's think about it. If it could be shown that Keegan Kline was giving Ron Logan pre-uploaded phones of explicit material of underage children, um, and then the girls were found on Ron Logan's land, right? So you already have that. You have that piece of information, and then you also have the information that Libby was in fact, um, communicating with a catfish account shortly before she died. So you have two things right there, right? That make it important to understand the child predation aspect, in my opinion. I think that's completely logical, right? Two very important points, right? Where they end up, where their bodies end up found, and then who they were talking to, who one of them was talking to right before she ended up dead. So I got to thinking, and I was like, because I don't think it's just Libby, right? Like, I don't mean to blame any child. I think all the kids were doing it. And could you imagine, like, try to put yourself in the shoes of a kid today? And what if you're one of the only people not engaging in sharing sexy pics of yourself? Thank you, Angel Eyes. Thank you. Thanks, guys. So I'm just saying that, like, it would be incredibly difficult to be a kid today and to have that kind of pressure put on you. And that kind of pressure was put on them because they basically grew up with smartphones, right? So, anyway, the reason that I'm doing this is not just for Libby, but like I really, I think a lot of us identify with Libby because, you know, there's no victim blame, but I think we've all been a young, insecure teenager, right? Like we've all been there. And like if everybody else was doing it, why not, you know? So, and then it's interesting to see that her family, even, regardless of like how far removed in her family, but there's still somebody in her family that was not safe to be around. Further, any nearby pattern of exploitation, grooming behavior, or unsafe adult access in Libby's environment should be relevant. Okay, that's Adam Bridge, right? That's Keegan Kline. So this is not meant to sensationalize or blame, but rather to learn from the realities surrounding cases like hers so that maybe we can help another child before something terrible happens. right? And we should aspire to normalize discussions on child safety, modern exploitation, and how danger often looks different than people think. So, there's some important things too to like look at if we're looking at it. Lots of Uncle Creepies, yeah. But I don't think a good enough investigation was done. I think it was, hi, Rock Crusher. Hello. Okay, let me. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I might have to feed him before I get too much further into this. Otherwise, he's going to be really loud. So give me 1 second, guys. I apologize. I don't want it to be too distracting. Hold on. All right, come on. Come on. All right, I apologize. I'm sorry, guys. He's just really, really loud. he is meow, 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 meow. So, again, like, I think this whole aspect of the case needed to be taken way more seriously. So, Eric is no relation. Oh, okay. Okay. So, and I agree, Nancy. Yeah. They didn't get a chance at anything. Yeah. So, if we look at like what probably should have been done, there really needed to be somebody in hyper focused on victimology, right? Because the victimology would tell you everything, in my opinion, right? Would tell you a huge part of the story. Let me make sure this camera doesn't track. Okay, hopefully that stays that way. Okay. So, victimology, of course, is the study of victims, victimization, and the circumstances that place someone at risk of being harmed. So, in criminal investigations, it often means building a detailed picture of the victim's life, such as relationships, routines, vulnerabilities, recent activities, social contacts, and environment, in order to help better understand why the victim may have been targeted, who had access to them, possible motives, patterns of coercion or exploitation, and opportunities surrounding the crime. Okay. So, again, victimology is not about blaming the victim. Proper victimology is about understanding context so that investigators can identify offenders, protect others, and make sense of what happened. So, the environment, and serious crimes involving minors, investigators examine environments, not just suspects, but especially household dynamics, right? We already know that there was, I would say some instability as far as, custody, because, like, Kelsey and Libby were basically, awarded to the custody of Becky Patty, right? Derek German, the father of the two, still lived in the area, as far as I know, but, Carrie Timmons lived out of state with a whole other family. And Libby and Kelsey were left to the custody of their grandparents, their father's mother, so their grandmother, Becky Patty. And so the environment of like the household dynamic, that would be worth looking at, right? Relatives and acquaintances. Bridge lived in Flora, right? Not too far away. Prior reports or misconduct. I think Derek had been arrested within the girls' lifetimes, right, for the manufacturing of methamphetamine, and possibly, well, I can't remember all the charges. You guys will correct me, I'm sure, but and then who had access to them? If Derek was getting up to some illegal stuff, well, like, who would be coming around? Who would be, in close proximity to these kids? Who knew family routines? And who normalized risky behavior? So there's this thing, relevant context will help explain the vulnerability, environment, access, and risk, where the evidence directly links a person to the specific crime. So something can be relevant context without being evidence of murder involvement, right? So what I'm showing here is not necessarily evidence, right? But it is relevant context. All of these things help explain vulnerability, environment, access, and risk. So, unsafe and unmonitored phone applications, there you go. And that's like a very common one now, too. Like, I think so many parents have to be worried about this. So, stranger danger, right? Like, we all know the obvious ones now. Don't take candy from strangers, all of that kind of stuff. But the greater reality is that, like, the kids that are actually being physically harmed and molested they know their abuser, right? So the U.S. Department of Justice and Child Advocacy research consistently find that most child sexual abuse is committed by someone the child knows, often family members, family friends, acquaintances, or trusted adults. So, and of course, like, hi, Kelly, hello. If one is a predator, you're going to go where children are. So then you usually become the trusted adult, whether that's like a babysitter or like a school counselor, or I guess like a coach, or there's a whole bunch of things that a teacher, like, there's a whole bunch of things that predators like go and do, because then they have access to their prey, so to speak. So, common estimates, about 90% of child sexual abuse victims know the offender. 90%. Around 30 to 40% are abused by a family member, and many other by acquaintances or known persons. And yeah, almost every time the victim child knows their predator. Very well said. So I think too, like, whereas there's a lot of online predation, you probably don't end up knowing them, um, especially like if they're out of state or whatever. There's still a good chance that like you're going to come to know them if you're going to get groomed by them, because they're going to befriend you and they're going to do a lot of the things that they do, like even in random online communities, just so that they can get an in. And if it isn't families, it's a member of the community. Yeah, I agree. Priests, it's all the people that have access. So, and of course, child exploitation has grown through phones, social media, and other familiar spaces. And prevention requires honest conversations, early warning awareness, and safe adults children can tell. So, child exploitation often depends on access, normalization, and weak boundaries. And predators will benefit when a child's environment includes adults with poor boundaries. You see this with adults that have substance abuse issues. I knew some kids that had parents that were, had some severe addictions, and then, kind of brought around whoever, secrecy around sexual misconduct. If you can scare the child into keeping a secret, or the shame, chaotic supervision, substance abuse or instability, adults who minimize inappropriate behavior, many people cycling in and out of the child's orbit. Now, adults who minimize inappropriate behavior is very, like, to me, that says that it could be generational. Once you get used to it, and everything seems normal, yeah, there's like, oh, that's just how it was done. Like, that's just Uncle so-and-so's way. Like, that's how he was with me. Like, sometimes the parents should know better, but they quote unquote don't. If you guys know what I'm saying, right? Because like they do know it's wrong, but they also like, oh, that was part of growing up, so it is what it is, kind of thing. So this doesn't necessarily mean that everyone nearby is involved, but it means that those conditions can lower protective barriers. So, and then multiple risks can overlap around the same child. So a child can simultaneously face online grooming from strangers, inappropriate attention from known adults, family dysfunction, peer coercion, and exploitation by unrelated actors. Like, again, peer pressure is such a thing, especially at that age. So those risks can intersect even when the people involved are not coordinating. Sometimes people look for a single mastermind when the reality is multiple dangers converging on one vulnerable child. Now, I will say this is speculation, but I think it's a good deduction to say that because Keegan Kline was in regular contact with Ron Logan to upload his Logan's phones with CSAM, I would say that's coordinated. That to me feels very coordinated. I can't like extrapolate out into like a child pedophilia ring, but I can say that like, hey, there was some coordination going on with CSAM right there, right? I mean, what else would we say about that? Would we say, I don't know what we would say about that actually. So, but give me a good reason why that's not coordinated, and I'll have a debate with you. So, and familiarity can reduce vigilance, and this is kind of what I already talked about. But if a family already has someone close to them with troubling behavior, criminality, exploitation issues, or boundary violations, it can create confusion. So Like, we know him, he can't be dangerous, that's just how he is, don't make drama, we handle things privately. Like, I know a ton of people like that, you know? So it's unfortunate, but that's like, you know, it's kind of the secrecy, unspoken rule of families sometimes. So, again, there was definitely proximity to online predation. Like, again, if people want to, it can create risk. Thank you, Lisa. But if people want to argue about this, like, I feel like we could all make a very compelling debate, have a compelling debate about this, because if Libby literally was talking with a catfishing account the day before she allegedly went missing and ended up dead, murdered, right? So yeah, like, I welcome that debate with anyone at any time. So yeah, Keegan Kline used this catfish account, Anthony Shots. I don't think my mouse is going to show up, but in the top left corner here, we have Mr. Handsome himself, Keegan Kline. And then underneath them in the smaller photos are the pics. I kind of like cartoonized them, but of the male model that Kline stole the pics from in order to catfish these young local girls, right? So he uses this incredibly handsome young man to catfish local underage girls. And when I think it was Murder Sheet, and if you guys know, let me know. I think it was Murder Sheet, like in the spring of 2022. They leaked the reported transcripts of Keegan Kline, the publicly reported transcripts, and they indicate that investigators questioned him in 2020, August 2020, yeah, about the communications between Libby German and Anthony Shots the night before Libby and Abby Williams were found deceased. So, and then just as a quick timeline over here on the right side, we have, you know, the girls are murdered on the 13th, as far as we know. You know, I don't really know anymore. But they're murdered on the 13th. By the 25th of February, Kline is interviewed by Peru PD, the ISP, Indiana State Police, and the FBI. And there are devices reportedly seized, except for that one that's left on a microwave for whatever reason. You know, national average is 7.6 to 10 point. National average is 7.6 to 10.8% Indiana who have suffered sexual abuse. Wow. Well, I wonder if it's even higher. Every time I look at sexual abuse or harassment or whatever kind of claims, I wonder like how much higher they have to be because of the shame. You know, the shame is just it's such a high bar to try to get over with people, especially younger people. It does make me wonder, you know, if we could really know what those stats would be, it would be interesting. But if anybody knows too when Kline allegedly went on vacation to Vegas, I would be, yeah, how many aren't reported? That's right, Monday. Yep. Because, I mean, is it like 1 in 4 women? Something like that. Or at least that's like what it is closer to be. So, like, what is it with kids, especially in that kind of environment? CPS, like, were Abby and not Abby, and were Libby and Kelsey ever put in a foster home environment, and for how long, if they were? You know, like, that would be a good question. Yeah. Oh, I know what you meant. Yeah. So anyway, so Yeah, if you guys know when they went to Vegas, could you remind me? I'm sure it's somewhere in the Murder Sheet podcast, but I just want to listen to them. I'm like, I'm so lazy sometimes. I just don't want to listen to them. But, and then, yeah, if anybody knows if Abby and Libby and Kelsey were ever in a foster home environment, that would be interesting to know. If they had to wait between, if they didn't have access to stable caregivers like Becky Patty was, because I think Carrie and Derek both struggled with certain issues, right? Certain substance issues. So I don't know, like, I would think that they would have stayed in like their grandparents' custody on either side. So I don't know. But again, like, if you have someone like Adam Bridge in the, same household as where maybe the girl's mother's parents were, so their grandparents on their maternal grandparents, right? Like, that's not good, right? So you've got that, and then on the opposite side with Derek, like, Derek is in proximity to drugs, that whole atmosphere. So it's not a stable area. So since they went through a guardianship, I'm almost certain that CPS would have conducted visits in the beginning. Okay. Thank you, artists. You guys are so good. Thank you. So Kline is interviewed in late February 2017. I think his dad is too. And it's by, 3 different units, the ISP, the local PD, and the FBI. They seize his devices except for the one on the... Yeah, you can post something. Yeah, that's what the moderator wrench does. It allows you to post like just as long as it's appropriate. Please. Okay. Thank you. Okay, that's a good one. Thank you, Angela. Thank you. That's perfect. So between 2017 then to 2020, August 2020, there is a digital forensic review, ongoing investigation of those devices. Now, when I asked ChatGPT, it did say that it can't take that long to go through devices, and I still don't fully believe it. Like, I don't always believe what ChatGPT tells me, but it knows probably better than I do. But it said it's possible that it could have taken that long, and especially if they were building outward cases, like if they were finding other people to hone in on based on those devices and the information that they were getting from them. Libby. Come here. Stop. Come here. Do you want to cuddle? Okay. I don't even know what to say. It's possible that it could have taken them that long to do a detailed forensic search of the devices, right? And then trying to not disrupt too many things. But I mean, like, if all his devices had been seized, then I would think, well, I guess they could clone them, right? And then go through it and see who else came up. But I don't exactly know how that works. But by August 19th, that's when they bring him in, they question him. That's what gets leaked. The transcripts that get leaked in August, or no, in 2022. And then let's see. So he has 30 felony charges filed around the time that he's brought in and interrogated. and they're all child exploitation, CSAM related. And then for whatever reason, like it takes them 3.5 years to finally interrogate him and arrest him. But for whatever reason, then it takes them like close to a year and a half. So a year and a half maybe. They like 15, 16 months before they make a press release about Anthony Schatz, the Anthony Schatz profile. So again, like it would be really interesting to have on somebody in a police force that would be able to tell us, like, how common is this? And what do you think was happening during this time period? Because why are you taking this long? Unless you're trying to keep it on the down low and not, clue anybody else in. But I don't know. It's very interesting. So, that's the middle of the night, December 6th, press release, 2021. Holiday season, nothing to see here, go about your lives, whatever, And then in 2022, the interview transcript becomes public. I think that was one of the instances where Kevin Greenlee of Murder Sheet magically logged in at a certain time and it just happened to be there and he got it or something. I can't remember. He got really fortuitous several times, which says to me that it's ISP, but they had an ISP hookup. Hi, Dumb Laura. Pure speculation. Is that Abby's mother had stricter standards than Becky Patty? Becky Patty's care, Abby was probably exposed to a lot more than Abby's mother would either have known or permitted. That's a great question, and I don't know. And I think it's unfortunate that everybody got so locked down into a very precise, specific narrative, because I wonder that too. I think that's an excellent question. And I think it's, if we could only talk to Anna, right? But I think she's been locked down, because at this point it's like, maybe there were some things that she should have come out and spoken up about before, but now if she does, it's going to make her look complicit. So everything just gets very messy very quickly with this kind of stuff when you're not allowed, hi, Mother Dragons, hello, when you're not allowed to be transparent. So it could have been a way messier situation. Maybe Anna wanted to talk out about it, but then maybe they locked her down. Who knows? But it would be a great question to ask. So, and yeah, I'm glad you asked it. So the reason that we don't have Keegan Kline's trial transcripts is because he didn't technically go to trial. He had a bunch of hearings. How's it going? We had a bunch of hearings, but he ended up pleading guilty and he got 25 felony counts. So they managed to whittle some of those charges down, but I guess he was sentenced to 43 years total. So 40 executed because he already did 3, I guess. 3 suspended or something like that. I don't know what that means, but it's still a very long time for the amount, for what he's been accused of. And it's interesting now that somebody that was a relative of Libby's, who could have had, close proximity to Libby living over in Florida, that guy has 70 some charges, right? So that's creepy. It is sad for Anna. It's sad for all of them. Even if Becky Patty had a ton of people potentially harassing people on the case and whatnot, I don't know, that's speculation, whatever. It's still sad, and I'm saying that as a person that got some of that harassment too. It's still sad that first of all, your loved one who is a child is brutally taken away from you. I don't know, pertinent. I don't know if we know who her bio dad is. That's a good question too. But you know, it's not only sad that like the kids are killed very brutally, but it's also very sad then that I don't think the Patties have really been allowed to even look at the case. You know, I don't know what involvement they have. I think they could have been more transparent, right? I think we all think that. And maybe, you know, maybe that's just me being naive. But certainly more transparency would have helped. But for whatever reason, nobody wanted to be transparent. Phone history only goes back to 2019. Yeah, that they can find Monday. That's what it is. Yeah, it's sad for all. But yeah, I especially feel for Anna too, because I feel like she very much got bulldozed into like what became the canon, you know? So did the guy model in the pictures leave and go out of state with someone from Indiana? Vince went to Alaska with Kyle. Oh, that's right, Iron. Yeah, see, that's why I need you guys. Hi, Skip. Oh, thank you, Skip. With your brother's great quality. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Skip. That's so nice. Skip, you're a good one. Skip's, you know, he's actually one of the good ones who's been here probably the longest out of anybody I know, who's always had his heart in the right place. So, you know, it sucks. It sucks that so many people have gotten like railroaded and bulldozed and buried and harassed and beaten down, all metaphorically, on this case, because if a huge component of this case is related to sexting, right, and explicit images of kids getting disseminated or exchanged, which is a very common thing and is, you know, constantly an issue all over this country, all over, you know, the quote unquote civilized world, as messed up as that is, then we're missing a huge aspect of the case because it was taboo back in 2017. It shouldn't be taboo anymore. This should be a thing that everybody knows about, you know? I can't remember the kid that turned over the Snapchat to police. Yeah, Kyle something. I've seen people bring up his name before. But yeah, so anyway, so basically, again, like, Adam Bridge does not have to be involved in the girls' murders for them to have been exposed to an unsafe environment, right? Like, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. So, yeah, there are way too many names to remember. Proximity to online predation in the family. So recently, a relative of Libby German on her mother's side, Adam Bridge, was charged in Carroll County after investigators alleged they found dozens of child sexual abuse images tied to him, and a forensic review indicating thousands of exploitative files collected over several years. So according to the probable cause affidavit, he admitted to investigators that he had been viewing child pornography online. So, you know, I'm sure other people have read it. I didn't want to go into the details of it, Hi, Deb. Hi, Kali Yuga. Long time no see. Oh, Kyle Smith. Thank you, Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga knows. Thank you. Okay, Kyle Smith. Yes. Okay. If you guys remember, will somebody tell me the importance of him in the comments? Because I forget all the time. So you should make a good segment. That's why I don't get any offers. Aw. No, it's a reality that, like, when I tried to tell my parents about some of the aspects of this case, they're boomers. My dad was born in 48, my mom was born in 52. They're like, what do you mean kids are sending pictures of them? So I was like, let's have the talk, boomers. Everybody sit down. Let's have the discussion. And they still were just like, wouldn't you be embarrassed? I was like, oh, never mind. So, yeah, but anyway, I love my parents. They just, it's a different generational thing, right? So, was texting Kelsey about the search. Okay, thank you, Kali Yuga. Thank you. So, just a condensed summary of the PSA or PCA, because I definitely do not want to read it. So, according to the probable cause affidavit, in April 2025, the Indiana State Police received a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children regarding suspected child exploitation tied to an IP address in Carroll County. That address was traced to a residence in Flora, Indiana, where Adam Bridge lived. When investigators followed up in July 2025, Bridge reportedly identified himself and admitted to viewing illegal material online. He consented to a search of his computer, which was later analyzed by the Indiana State Police Laboratory. The forensic analysis indicated that the presence of child sexual abuse material, including dozens of confirmed illegal images and evidence suggesting a much larger collection, accumulated over several years. Investigators reported that the files were stored, organized, and in some cases altered, with activity dating back to at least 2019. The material involved minors, including very young children, and these findings formed the basis for the charges brought against him. And I will say, I grew up ahead of the data. Yeah, exactly. Like, people had to work hard for that, I think that was Rebecca, like, a while ago. She was like, yeah, then people would have to work hard for that sextortion. And it's so true. It's like, and people had, a lot of other things going on. I know some people don't know what a Polaroid camera is. It makes me so sad. Oh, those are so cool. But anyway, so, like, I know, like, I don't have to be talking about this kind of shit, but, like, in order to get more CSAM material, you have to make your own and give it and exchange it. That's how a lot of that works, unfortunately. So, he was a tech guru. Oh, okay. You're talking about somebody else, Deb? Oh, okay. Yeah, if you guys want to leave me anything you know about him, that would be really good to know. Was he Libby's age, or was he Kelsey's age? Maybe we could talk to him. It would be interesting to talk to someone like him and pick his brain, see if he'd be willing to talk. This guy worked with kids. Yeah, Artist brought this up. You guys are awesome. Artist and It's a New Day, when they were on, just excellent researchers. Everybody should go subscribe to both of them and to their Unified Demand channel. If anybody wants to drop those links, please do. But Artist had found that Adam Bridge was, like, involved on the board of the Flora Youth Center. Yeah. Hi, Stephanie. Hello. Long time no see. It's good to see you. So, this guy was around kids. Yeah. So it's really gross. It's really gross, but that's, they go where the kids are. And again, in order to in order to show up in, I don't even know if it's just dark web spaces anymore. I think there are places you can go that aren't dark web where you can just go and exchange, CSAM, and you have to provide new CSAM in order to get new CSAM. So that could be very much why he is altering some of those photos too. Hi, Critter. Long time no see. It's good to see you, Skip. Have a good one. Thank you. It's good to see you, Critter. So that's the unfortunate reality. It is a self-sustaining cesspool of humanity. Like I don't even know how else to say it. Hey, hi Sunflower. Hi, Big JD. It's so good to see you. Hello. It's good to see everyone. So this guy, and in the family too, and if there was a moment where Libby and Kelsey had to be out of, their parents' custody, well, then the next people that would be likely for them to go to would be their grandparents on either side. Well, if Adam Bridge was living with Dennis Bridge, who is married to Carrie's mom, that's, Libby and Kelsey's grandma, then you're in the same household again, right? So, yeah, addictive aspects as well. There you go. That too, right? So, they're not really going to be safe in many environments. But I guess, the point is that a lot of environments aren't safe for kids either nowadays because of the internet. So, there's a lot of danger all around kids constantly. And I mean, that doesn't mean that we should be afraid. The smarter we become, the better able we are to protect them and not put up with that shit, So, and there are other things. I didn't include it in this presentation just because I knew it was going to be a long one. I didn't know how long my voice would last, but there are things to look for if your kid is being bullied or harassed or coerced into self-harm and whatnot. The FBI has a whole bunch of different things to look at. Critter, let me make you... I don't know why all my mods got... I don't know why that happened. Anyway, so yeah, so kids wearing the long sleeved t-shirts when it's hot out because they're carving somebody's name into their arms because somebody online has gotten you're my mod now. What are those channels names again? Oh, so It's a New Day, the Unified Demand, and Artist formerly known as. And I think the Unified Demand is going to be really beneficial to the community because It's a New Day and Artist have, they've lived in the area a long time, not the exact area, but they know Indiana pretty well. And, I think they would have some really good enlightening discussions for sure. And I think that's what we need. I think we need to be able to sit and say, hey, this is speculation. I'm just going to riff, but here I go, and then for people to kind of pick it apart, you got to be able to allow people to add and detract too, because that's how we learn, but I think it's a great mental exercise that all of us need to be engaging in. So, okay, so this is going to be, this is why I had to go back an hour. Unified command is Unified Demand. Yes, the Unified Demands. Happy to help if okay, that's great, Critter. Okay, because like you guys know, you know the atmosphere, you know the way that people move. Like I liked what Artist said the last live I did with them, where she was saying, I remember when cops were good. You know, like I remember when they were like, they knew the community, they were like, what's up? And then once it started becoming more, I don't even know if this is the word, but like in the family as far as like nepotism goes, like guys taking over for their daddies. Oh, that sounded weird, but like young men taking over for their dads. Um, that then like become educated kind of in the wrong way of doing things, and so everybody just kind of like continues to do that, and it spirals. Generational corruption. Thank you. Yes. Assuming the community center receives public funding, taxpayers should submit record requests, attend town meetings, and write articles. That's such a good point. That's such a good point. Yes. That's so true. Like, yes. Thank you, Angel Eyes. Thank you. Thank you. Lisa's a genius. I love you guys. I love all of you so much. I need your brains all the time. So I did want to like look at this pretty quickly though. So we're not just talking about Libby. We're not just talking about Delphi. We're talking about kind of the threat that is, you know, just becoming more common as we go on. So if we were to zoom out for a minute, this isn't just about the one case, right? It's about patterns. And patterns are the only thing that I can show. I can't really bring you evidence of things. I don't have access to investigative materials. I haven't been able to interview witnesses, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So I can look at patterns though. Oh, thank you, Monday. Thank you. So if you look across different situations, different states, different years, you start to see the same mechanisms repeat. You have adults with access to kids, institutions that miss or minimize warning signs, online spaces where people can impersonate, pressure, and isolate, and kids who are navigating all of that in real time. Kids that don't have like the full life experience to know when things are bullshit, you know, to know when to get away from a bad situation, to know when to step back and say, hey, let's put this in perspective, you know. And it's really, really sad, and it can be avoided. We just have to get rid of shame. Shame is such a destructive thing. So the cases that I have up here, they're different. They're not all connected, right? But the pattern is very similar or the same, really, because it's access, trust, and then exploitation, right? So sometimes it's hidden inside of institutions. Sometimes it's one-on-one online interaction. Sometimes it's like with someone you know that you're close with, that you confide in, and all of these times it seems to escalate very quickly. So what ties these cases together isn't who was involved, it's how quickly access turns into leverage, right? Yes. So the reason that I'm bringing these up is not to sensationalize anything. It's to show that this is a real recurring problem, and it doesn't require a massive operation for a child to get hurt, right? Because, you know, regardless of what happened with Abby and Libby, they still ended up dead. You know, that shame can be toxic and shame can be healthy. healthy shame protects us. Maybe, but maybe it's guilt. Shame is a deep disgust and fear of being lacking, and guilt can be maybe more of a thing of like, I did something wrong, I need to repair. I think shame is something that can hurt us most of the time. You know, like I don't think it's beneficial because it's not even getting to guilt and needing to repair. But I understand. I think I know what you're saying. But that's true. I do think there's an element of guilt that protects us and that helps us improve and grow. But I do feel like what some of these kids went through, the shame that they experienced. I mean, it was so urgent that they felt the need to, to kill themselves. So anyway, I understand. I think I know what you're saying. So, but I'll actually have to start with all the guys I don't want to talk about. So, so all of this to say is it can happen with one person, one account, one conversation, and one moment where a kid doesn't feel safe telling an adult. Talking about running out of the house without your clothes on. Oh, okay. Okay, that's fair. Especially if it's like cold out or something. Yeah, you don't want frostbite. Tend not to share thinking you won't love them anymore. And that's really sad, critter. That's why we need to really reinforce that that's not going to happen to them. So I do need to go over to this. So these guys, here are some case examples. All right, we're going to start over at the far left with Jared Fogle, Subway guy, former Subway spokesperson. Now, this guy, I believe his home was raided in July 2015. He was convicted and pled guilty. Well, he pled guilty, then he was convicted in November 2015 for traveling to engage in illicit sex with minors and receiving child sexual abuse material. No, you're good, Dunlara, you're good. His case showed how abuse can occur even when someone is publicly trusted and closely monitored. So, but he had a lot of money, and it, again, because I think it was a federal case, like we don't really get to see a lot of the nuance that goes. Yeah, the frugal gourmet was also from Indiana, huh? Okay. Because he had a lot of money too, and because it was a federal case, it's a lot like the Ghislaine Maxwell case that there was so much that I don't think they addressed, but not many people were there to talk about it. So how could the public stay apprised of what was going on if it's so secretive, Anyway, so then we have Larry Nassar next to Fogle. And I believe his investigation spanned from 2016 to 2018. He was the USA gymnastics doctor convicted of abusing hundreds of underage athletes over many years. And this case revealed how institutional failures can allow abuse to continue despite repeated warning signs. And if our elite athletes representing our country on the world stage, at the highest level, right, weren't protected, it raises serious concerns about how institutions fail to protect minors, right? Like the FBI was supposed to be investigating this. Jay Abbott, who was the special agent in charge based out of the Indianapolis FBI field office when Abby and Libby were found murdered, who sent Greg Massa up to investigate. You know, and Abbott later got what was it? It was like some sort of internal investigation report written up on him in 2021, and it found that he not only took his sweet ass time, but that also, like, he was pretty dismissive of things. And it was later revealed that, you know, he got to retire in 2018 with his whole pension and everything, but like it was later revealed that he was going to be taking like some sort of cushy uh, committee board job for the gymnastics Olympics, the Olympic gymnastics team or whatever. So it's like, that's pretty gross, you know? That's pretty gross. And one of these days, like, I'll have to deep dive it because it's like, you know, they took a settlement. Yeah, it's gross. Well, thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you for posting those. Absolutely. I've told my older kiddo, listen, if I had access to the internet and everything you do, people would for sure made some dumb decisions. Yeah, I think people still make dumb decisions as adults, Sunflower. Like, and I don't think like people should necessarily be blamed for it, but like there needs to be some sort of kind of like awareness that people want to get people in compromising situations, you know, especially if you have something worth taking, you know. So anyway, so yeah, Nasser sucks, Fogo sucks, Buster Hernandez sucks. He's after Nasser. So this guy, like, I have conflicting reports. Skip would actually know, but hi 26, hello. Yeah, like Hernandez was either apprehended in May or August of 2017. I found conflicting reports, but this guy was active since 2012, and he used fake social media accounts. You know, he had a lot of them. Like Artist was saying, he had like over 300 sock puppet accounts and all of that kind of stuff. And he had often posed as a teenage girl to target minors, and he would coerce his victims into sending images and then threatened exposure. So he operated across multiple states, including Indiana. It was in February 2020 that he pled guilty to 41 counts. Okay. So again, not the 78 counts. I mean, I'm sure Bridges, Adam Bridges counts will be whittled down, but it's still insane. Like Buster Hernandez, who was multi-state operational, had 41 counts, and he was sentenced to 75 years in federal prison. So his case, of course, shows how large-scale cyber exploitation investigations can function when the digital threat is clearly identifiable and traceable. So because people were more transparent, I think because it wasn't led by Indiana, but because it was like, you know, it was probably more other states were coming in and asking for help, that Indiana decided to get on board. Plus, like, Skip has a good theory on that too, with the funding for ICAC, you know, that maybe we should pick his brain about sometimes. The creeps of shame, that's right. That's creeps of shame, right? So yeah, it's insane, man. So and of course his case also demonstrates impersonation, pressure, and isolation, how they work together online. And I will say, and I even have another presentation on this. I think it was done in like September, but basically, like, there are people on the Delphi case who impersonate other people, whether that's like, you know, the great granddaughter of a murdered couple, elderly couple, pretending to be a 13-year-old girl, or like somebody pretending to be some sort of intelligence agent of one of the big. Oh, hi, Nicole. Hello. And I'm sorry if I didn't see anybody else come in, but hello. It's good to see you. So, whatever the case is, yeah, anyway, uh, impersonation is, it's like, why is it on this case? Why is it on this case? I don't even know anymore. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back for a second. Because, so we've got Conrad Roy. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in 2014, there was a young man, I believe he was 18, who died by suicide after being repeatedly encouraged via text message by his girlfriend, a Michelle Carter, who was later convicted of involuntary manslaughter. So the case does show how psychological pressure through digital communication alone can have real world consequences. And I will say that, like, there were instances of people being barraged and harassed and harangued, like in discords, where it would have pushed a lot of people to get to that point of possible self-harm. So digital communication, that type of bullying can definitely it can push people to do harmful things to themselves, right? So it can have real world consequences. So then towards the middle here, we have Jordan DeMay. I believe he was a 17-year-old from Michigan. Got a lot of Michigan overlap here, but so in 2022, he was targeted online by individuals posing as a young woman on social media. The interaction moved quickly. There was some flirting, a sense of normal teen engagement, and then he was persuaded to send an explicit image. Almost immediately, that image was used against him. The people behind the account, later identified as part of an organized sextortion group, threatened to send the image to his friends and family unless he paid them. And they even pulled real contacts from his social media to make the threat feel real. Jordan did try to pay, but the demands didn't stop. They escalated. Within hours of that pressure, he died by suicide. The individuals responsible were later identified and prosecuted, highlighting that this wasn't just a random incident, it was part of a broader, organized system of exploitation. And I will say that Delphi, too, has a lot of sextortion. So it's just, I mean, the online community has engaged in actual sextortion. So we are butting up against a lot of the hallmarks here, guys. I don't really know what else to say about that. It's not good. Now the same thing with this Ryan Last, here right next to Jordan. So he too was a 17-year-old from California who in 2022 he was contacted online by someone posing as a young woman, and like many teens, he engaged in what seemed like a normal interaction. The person even sent an image first to build trust. When Ryan sent one back, the situation immediately flipped. The individual or group behind the account demanded money and threatened to send the image to people in his life if he didn't comply. The pressure was intense and fast-moving, with repeated messages designed to create panic and urgency. Even when the demanded amount was lowered, the threats didn't stop. Within a very short period of time, Ryan died by suicide. Investigators later identified multiple individuals involved, reinforcing that this was not just one person, it was a coordinated effort using the same tactics seen in other sextortion cases. Yeah, it is, Nicole. It is. And I don't think I'll really be. A broader network of exploitation describes the Delphi case to a T. It does, Iron. It really does. So, yep. And I don't really know how deep I'll go into the David case, because with what he did to Celeste, for years, grooming her since allegedly grooming her since she was 11. It would be interesting to know her family dynamics too. Like, I don't know. Anyway. So, next we have Cynthia Hoffman. So, there was a case in 2019. I need to go back to. So, in 2019, and thank you for the people who told me about this case. To avoid jail for inappropriate contact with young girls. I believe it, Nancy. And I think too, like, based on, well, I have a segment pulled up from a podcast about it, but I think too that people, the younger that they are getting used to this kind of stuff. Like, they must come across it in online spaces that makes them, I think, kind of grow accustomed to it, so that then they kind of seek it out later on. You know what I'm saying? Like, once you get used to a thing, it's not really as taboo. It doesn't hit as hard anymore. So then they go and seek out something more extreme, and it becomes that slippery slope. So anyway, in 2019, 21-year-old Darren Schillmiller posed online as a wealthy man and began communicating with 18-year-old Denali Bramer in Alaska. So those are the last two photographs we have here. So after building trust, he offered millions of dollars in exchange for the kidnapping and murder of another person, requesting proof in the form of photos and videos. Bramer, along with accomplices Keegan Jansen, 16, Jaden Baxter, 16, and Josephine Grace, 17, carried out the killing of her 19-year-old friend Cynthia Hoffman, who had developmental challenges and was lured under false pretenses. So Cynthia Hoffman is the second to the left. And yeah. Schillmiller then orchestrated the crime remotely from Indiana. He was later sentenced to 99 years in federal prison. Bramer also received a 99-year sentence, while the juvenile accomplices received lengthy sentences with large portions suspended. And Gray was found incompetent to stand trial despite varying levels of involvement and age. The legal outcomes reflect how seriously courts treated the combination of online manipulation and real-world violence. So, again, it's how this stuff can transition from real world, like from online to real world harm. So, and then going back to Celeste Rivas Hernandez, this case is ongoing. Again, I don't really want to go too much into it. It sounded like she went through hell. It was years of systematic violence and abuse and sexual abuse, and all while being underage. So she was a 14-year-old girl whose death is linked to 21-year-old, what's his name, David Burke, now charged with murder and sexual abuse of a minor. And prosecutors allege an abusive relationship that began when she was underage. I mean, she still is underage, civilly and criminally. Yeah. And the case remains ongoing. Again, like, I don't know if I really want to cover this case because I don't know. I feel like there is an epidemic of young people abusing other young people too. And I mean, this guy knew better. He definitely knew you don't kill people. But like, I'm scared to what's coming. I'm scared what's underneath all of that, because I wonder how many online I wonder how many people are groomed. Like, so many younger people are online to begin with, and then like what percentage of them have experienced what level of abuse? Because I'm sure it's a lot, you know. Like, I'm sure it's a lot, and I'm sure that a lot of them don't even understand that it's abuse. You know what I'm saying? So it's just going to be a gnarly rabbit hole, right? So, and of course, her case is the classic online to offline proximity that can develop into exploitation. Yeah, it feels like an epidemic for sure. Yeah. So now we have, real quickly, we have the 764. There's so many of these cases, guys. So many of them. I couldn't even begin to go into some of them. I was just looking at some of them, like on the West Coast, but there's so many of them. I don't even know how to keep up with it. But investigations have uncovered loosely organized online groups, as described in ongoing cases, where minors are manipulated into harming themselves or others through coercion and psychological control. And it shows how exploitation today can be decentralized, fast-moving, and psychologically driven. So, my God, Becksworth's church life church that involves a pastor's adult child with CSAM. And I saw that what was that big family that was on TLC? They began with like a D. I forget their names. They were like religious Duggars. Yes, that somebody else is one of the other kids is in trouble. Thank you, the Duggars. Thank you. Somebody else is now in trouble. And I didn't even look at it, but welcome to Indiana. Like, no offense, I'm never going there. One of the sons. Thank you, guys. Yeah. But I don't even know, because one of the kids was in trouble a couple years ago. So, yeah, we have 764, then we have a Roblox, right? And that's where Schlep comes in. I wanted to bring up Schlep because I love this kid. He exposed how predators operate on Roblox, and he was preyed upon when he was, a young person. I think he's like 21 now, but like, when he was much younger, he was literally groomed and exploited. And so, he showed how like predators they begin their interactions in game, and then they move conversations to Discord, DMs, or private chats. His work contributed to arrests and increased awareness, although it sparked controversy because, he was calling out the big dogs that make a lot of money running this website for kids, the largest gaming platform for kids. So his case highlights how exploitation can start in child-centered digital spaces. And there's also Fortnite, Minecraft, any place where, you can connect to strangers online, and then move to a place where you can have private DMs. It's not going to be good, right? So, again, all these cases, they're not identical, but they reveal the same vulnerabilities. There's access to kids, the ability to build trust and then pressure quickly, and environments where shame or confusion keeps kids from speaking up. So that's why this conversation matters. Like, it doesn't take like a large interconnected network for kids to still be exposed to harm. And there are still large networks that harm kids. Look at what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. Like, why is it so far-fetched if there are literally 3 million files? Like, they had to make a whole database, and there's 3 million more that need to be released. on this guy that had so much power and got in and got compromised on so many people. It's just insane. So, yeah. And the problem with all of these cases, including Abby and Libby, was that there was an atmosphere of shame or confusion, and that keeps kids from speaking up. We do need to for stricter penalties for crimes against children. I agree. Yes, we do. So this conversation should matter. Like, it doesn't take a large network for a child to be harmed. It only takes access, opportunity, and a moment of silence, the moment of not speaking up because they are too afraid to. So the common thread in this is not complexity, it's proximity. You can come into, you can become like victimized by it. Basically anybody can, but especially kids, right? So yeah, that was the tangent. I wanted to bring up these cases too because I did feel like they were relevant. I don't think that anybody did anything wrong back in Delphi back in 2017 because kids are doing what those kids are doing right now, and they have been. As long as smartphones have been around and kids have been able to do it easily, it's been around. You know, as soon as you make something easy to do, it's been prevalent and it's been around, right? So, yeah, we need to understand this. So, online exploitation and predation takes advantage of adolescent psychology too, right? Especially within the performative landscape of digital culture. And to protect kids, we have to understand not only predators, but the emotional pressures predators exploit. And they often exploit normal adolescent needs like attention, belonging, curiosity, and secrecy. Privacy too, right? So, Abby and Libby's generation, they were early Gen Z, and they were among the first to grow up fully inside digital social life, where identity, friendship, belonging, attention, and humiliation could all be mediated through a screen. They came of an age with smartphones, Snapchat culture, online identity blending with real identity, and fewer adults who understood the platforms. Because, like, could you imagine, like, what if Becky Patty had understood this? What if Carrie had understood this? What if Anna had understood this? What if people understood that there was like this amount of predation happening to kids? Just within their own peer groups, by the way, too, right? Like, I think a lot more kids would be alive. And same goes for the kids, the parents of the kids that we just talked about. Luckily, you know, Schlepp is still alive, but everybody else is gone, right? And that's not to blame the parents, that's not to blame anyone. It's to call out society not talking about what matters. Someone else will. That's true. If we don't pay attention to our kids, someone else will. That's very well said, artist. So, yeah. So at that age, belonging and validation already matter deeply. Social media can amplify those normal needs while weakening privacy, especially when validation becomes measurable. Embarrassment becomes public, and attention can feel meaningful even when it's manipulative. So when young people absorb the message that their value is tied to visibility, desirability, and attention, it can create openings for exploitation. So to understand why young people become vulnerable online, we have to understand the psychological pressures of growing up digitally. And this is just the new normal, unfortunately. So in order to exploit adolescent psychology, you know, you have to understand that there's like some of the things that the kids are going through, identity formation, right? teens are naturally asking, like, am I attractive? Am I liked? Do I belong? Am I behind everyone else? Like, who am I becoming? And social media intensifies all of this, right? It's definitely not going to make somebody more secure. I don't know why this thing keeps... You don't have to follow me. Okay, anyway, so sexualized pressures, right? Girls have always had this, right? Girls in particular are often taught very early that appearance and desirability affect social value, which can create vulnerability to grooming, like, and it will be framed as admiration, right? And every young girl wants to feel beautiful, you know, mostly every young girl, right? Likewise, boys can face performance pressure, sexual bravado expectations, and sextortion scams, and coercion through ego or proving their masculinity, right? So then there's quantifying validation through likes, follows, subs, shares, snaps, replies, reposts, comments. Attention becomes like measurable, and that can make young people vulnerable to flattery, attention from older people, fake romance, pressure to prove desirability, and it leads to unstable privacy. So young people often underestimate the permanence of screenshots, fake accounts, saved chats, reposting, group sharing, and long-term consequences. So, yeah, in earlier eras, embarrassment might stay local. Now, humiliation can feel permanent, public, replayable, and socially fatal. And that fear keeps kids silent. So, the vulnerabilities of the teenage mind. And I feel like everybody has these vulnerabilities still. So, teen brains are still developing. Regions tied to reward, emotion, and social belonging can be highly active, while parts responsible for judgment and long-term restraint are still maturing, right? So the adolescent brain is especially sensitive to belonging, peer approval, and immediate rewards, while judgment and long-term risk assessment are still developing. And that means the teens can understand rules in theory, yet still struggle in emotionally charged or socially pressured moments. And in the digital age, those normal vulnerabilities are amplified by constant visibility, comparison, and access. So, what have we got going on? We've got the prefrontal cortex behind the forehead here, associated with planning, judgment, impulse control, weighing consequences, emotional regulation, resisting peer pressure, and long-term thinking. And I think some people still today do not have those abilities. And stop moving. This thing is haunted. I don't know why it does that. Dude, are you haunted? Don't be haunted. Please. Please don't be haunted. So the prefrontal cortex is still developing through adolescence and often into the mid-20s. And I'm like, girl, does it ever develop for some people? I wonder. So teens can know something is risky, but still struggle in the moment. And then you've got the amygdala, which is part of the limbic system. I don't know what this stuff is, but it's associated with threat detection, fear, emotional intensity, reading social signals negatively or urgently. So teens may experience embarrassment, rejection, or drama as extremely intense, right? So especially if the prefrontal cortex is still kind of behind in maturation while the amygdala is fully up and ready to go. And then you've got the limbic system, which is the emotional reward circuitry. So it's especially tied to emotion, motivation, reward seeking, novelty seeking, and sensitivity to approval and rejection. So it becomes highly active during adolescence. So kids, teens have a lot of stuff working against them, unfortunately, right? This sucks. Like, they are already handicapped, right? They've got a bunch of stuff, a bunch of issues going on with the environment, and then their brains are still like, not wired to navigate those kind of environments. And in fairness, a lot of people's aren't, right? Technology has, surpassed what our brains evolved to do. So when kids do risky or immature things, that does not make them responsible for adult predation. It makes them vulnerable to it, right? So, oh my goodness. Hi, guys. Hi, Jer. Hi, Court. Oh my gosh, long time no see. Who else did Hi, Gretchen. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see all of you. Okay, I think we just have one more to go. Right. Okay, so prevention, what we can do, how we can help the kids. And I shouldn't call them kids, but I don't know how we can help them, right? What to talk about with your child, or a kid that needs guidance. So grooming doesn't always look scary. It often looks like attention, right? A lot of people are lonely these days. It's not just teenagers, but so attention, compliments, friendship, secrecy, belonging, and someone who understands them, quote unquote, understands them. That's how many young people get pulled in. And, to be fair, that's what a lot of people in online community spaces do too. They don't just do it to teens, they can do it to anyone. So then you have peer-to-peer normalization. So kids aren't necessarily thinking crime or danger, but they're thinking everyone else does it, right? It's flirting, or it proves trust, or I don't want to be the baby, I don't want to seem childish, or I like the attention, And I think that's perfectly fair, especially if you're not getting that attention in constructive ways, Yeah, I think so too, Deb. I think that's a good call. So once an image exists, control can vanish, right? So forwarding in friend groups, screenshotting, disappearing apps, like that's Snapchat for you, right? Trading images, older individuals posing as peers, blackmail, threats, manipulation, all of that kind of stuff. Like, as soon as somebody has something on you, it can be used as leverage, even if that's just information. So, and shame protects predators. Let's be honest. Like, many minors won't tell adults because they fear punishment, embarrassment. They fear embarrassment, losing access to their phone or computer or devices that keep them in touch with their friends. They fear being blamed, or parents overreacting, or their peers finding out. So silence is powerful. And prevention needs realism, not lectures. And kids often tune out, never do this messaging. So better messages would be, if something happens, tell a safe adult quickly. Being tricked is not the same as consenting to abuse. Screenshots are permanent. If somebody is giving you pressure, whether that's like, being consistently bothersome, or like pushy, or urgent, that's a red flag. If people are requesting that you keep things secret, that's a red flag. And older teens or adults seeking explicit images or even just information, that's a red flag. So, young people are developing judgment in systems designed by adults and exploited by predators, right? That's not to say that they can't properly navigate it, but they're at a disadvantage. These things have been developed by the fully grown adults, and their brains are still developing, and those systems are easily exploited by predators. So one reason the online angle matters so much in Delphi is because grooming ecosystems are real and can place kids in vulnerable situations. And protecting kids requires understanding how modern grooming actually works, not how adults imagine it works. So, and trauma often does cause arrested development. That's very true. That's very true. Dunlora, yes. So, yeah, this was the presentation that I wanted to come and share. I was a little, piqued that people were dismissing the Adam Bridge connection, and I was like, wait a second here. There are things that are important to talk about, and that was one of them. I mean, yes, thank you guys for coming. Thank you. Oh wow. So yeah, I mean, if anybody else has any ideas on what we can do to get out this message and make people more aware of it, because you know what, I think, and I'm just going to say this because this is just my opinion, but I think Abby and Libby are dead because of their proximity to an environment that allowed child exploitation and predation. So he said he's cleared. Okay, well, it doesn't, like, I'm not even saying that Adam Bridge is like involved in the murder, but like, would it be worth knowing that Adam Bridge could have interacted with Keegan and Kline? What about that? Mm-hmm. Did they know each other? Yeah. Well, thank you. But yeah, you guys too. If people have like, I would love to share the unified demand, and anybody else who has a channel that wants to share it, please do. But I think it's worth talking about. I think it's worth talking about, like, that kind of thing existed so close to Libby in her family, Personally, not saying not. I'm just saying that for some reason he is saying, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Critter. I don't. Yeah, I think it's obtuse of people to totally discount anything, especially after how terrible the investigation was. Thank you so much, Angel Eyes. Thank you. And like, I don't think anybody's been cleared. I really don't. I think that's obtuse. I think it needs to be blank slated. There's just no other way to explain it, Yeah. So, and again, I don't know why Abby and Libby are dead. I don't. I wonder if the people in their lives had known more about this, if maybe they would still be with us. But I mean, you can't go back in time and teach people this stuff, and that's what's really sad about it, because I'm not blaming the families at all, but it's just too much of an issue and a danger to not look into seriously, right? I could totally see a unified command not having the technology or resources or the knowledge or wherewithal to even begin to want to look down to go down that rabbit hole and to figure it out. But then they did a massive disservice, not only to, to deceased kids, but to a whole bunch of kids. Because, like, anecdotally hearing that after the girls were murdered, that then the girls in the area and in the surrounding area started wearing baggy, oversized clothes, and not flaunting, their femininity like the way a lot of us did at that age. So um, someone didn't give it credibility. Kids just being kids, right? And that's such a problem too, Dunmore. Like, there's so much plausible deniability too, of like, yeah, but like, that's just the way things are and stuff. So only forget to be a dead end. Yeah, and how many people, like, honestly, I think, thank you, artists, thank you. Please subscribe to the Unified Demand if you guys haven't already. I'm very excited for everything you guys do. But how many people let down these kids? How many people, like Doug Carter, talked out of his ass with riddles and, fancy sentiments, but then couldn't do a goddamn thing, And maybe he really tried. Maybe he was really stymied. Maybe, maybe he ran into so many blockades and whatnot, and everybody was lying to him every which way. But, dude, you're the head of ISP. You can go to the high ups at the FBI and be like, "Hey, dude, there's some serious situations." Thank you, Angel Eyes. Thank you. So, I just don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody on this case. I don't I don't trust other content creators. I don't trust anybody. And I think that's okay. I think that's where we all need to be. And we all need to be kind of like asking questions of everyone, including myself, because that's the way that I learn too. That's the way that I stay accountable. If you have a theory or if you have an idea and you have evidence to back it up and you can prove it, or, you make a good argument, it's worth hearing, it's worth considering. And for too long, no one has been allowed to do that on this case. Like, everything devolves into a cult. A cult of personality. You got to agree with what I'm saying, otherwise then it's like, you're betraying me. It's not about you. It's about fucking kids, dude. So, and I'm speaking in general. Yeah, always a red flag if your question or comment is shut down. Amen. Right? But I've just seen it too many times. Like, yes, people are doing terrible things to each other because of whatever reason they're doing terrible things to each other. Everybody needs to knock it the fuck off. But at the end of the day, it's like, dude, there's a rampant problem going on right now in that state, at least in that state, right? That we can see, that has been brought to light with all of the stuff that everybody has contributed to and found, right? Without this community, like, we would not be where we are with all the shit that has been uncovered. And something is seriously fucking wrong. And, like, again, I can't tell you what it is because, like, I don't know. I don't know for certain. But I see enough of the dysfunction to know that it's not helping anyone. And it's hurting people. And it feels like that is the way it was meant to be. They don't want people. The whoever. It benefits the people that could get in real trouble for the rest of us to be nipping at each other and to be fighting over stupid shit and to not be hyper focused in on this real threat. Because not only is there some sort of predation thing that's happening, right? Some sort of like covering up misdeeds through violence, whether that's arson or whatever. But there's also complicity. Yeah, he didn't seem like he had a high IQ, but yeah. So we have a real issue, guys. There's a real cover up. I don't know why. I don't know of what exactly, but it's real. People are dying. Kids are getting hurt. It's not resolving anything. It's not making anything safer. You can't do things without transparency and expect it to go well, right? That's never worked, right? Like name me a time that has worked. Yeah. Amen, guys. So it's really scary. There's something obviously very wrong. I don't know what it is, but it's there. It's menacing. And it's probably all over the fucking country. Like, if we're being honest, and that's not to be like conspiratorial, that's being realistic, right? Because if you're not going to do the bare minimum for the people who need it the most, that's what you're there for, right? Not there to cover your ass, right? So, but that seems to be what it is. Yeah, fake transparency is a real thing. Yeah, like, I'm so fucking sick of all this shit, guys. So I apologize. I got a little amped up there, but it's so obvious. And then people saying like, "Oh, you're being conspiratorial." No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Like, no, we're not. We have eyes. We have a brain. Don't insult our intelligence. Bring it into the light. That's right. Don't be ashamed anymore. Don't be afraid anymore. Whatever they have over you, like, I get it, because like, how many people have suffered badly, and that shouldn't be applied to any one of us, right? Yeah. So it's only going to get better if people talk about it, and they talk about it in constructive ways, in good faith, meant to get to some sort of solution, right? So yeah, it's a pandemic. Yeah, devolving around the world. Hi, Hoosier. Yeah, it is. I think it is, because I think society is devolving because we let it. Like, I think there is enough critical thinking left. I think there's enough instinct left in all of us to know that something is wrong and that it's not organic, right? That it's, I don't really know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think you guys know what I'm trying to say, but yeah. These kids were killed because the environment around them, right? That's all I really know. And that they're not getting justice because of the environment around them. An innocent man has lost his life, really, and lost his connection to his family's life because of the environment around him. You know? It's really fucking sad. So, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way, guys. Selfish adults think their lives are more important than anyone else's. Yeah. Yeah. Just destroy the world. Sometimes I wonder. But I think anybody, I don't know. I don't trust any politicians. So, for RA and fam, yeah. Yeah. DNA advancements, right. Test the fucking DNA. Whoever that medical examiner was, that core guy or whatever, what a shady motherfucker. Right? Like, oh, it could have been a box cutter. It'll be interesting to see if any of these people get their comeuppance, right? It'll be very interesting to see. Yeah, let's not be political. We won't. We'll stay unpolitical. But just know that I'm an equal opportunity hater of all politicians. It doesn't matter the political party, because I have yet to see any of them do anything good for people. Besides, like, the few guys that did the Epstein stuff, Kana and Massey. Yeah. Well, Nicole, they said that there was banana stuff in there, but it's like, well, you know, like, can we even believe the story? Like, I can't even believe the story, right? Like, I don't believe the story that they had banana pancakes. Like, not to say that they're lying, but like, I can't take anybody's word for anything anymore, right? I don't know. I think we just all need to be mad. Let's all get mad. As mad as me. And like, let's like call out these motherfuckers, because they don't need to be this fucking shady. You don't need to be this fucking shady. Do you want a society that works? Or do you want a society that's like eventually gonna catch on that you're a bunch of fucks and they're gonna go and anyway. Yeah. Need to calm down, but yeah. It's crazy. People will do anything to cover up other stuff. So Sinatra songs, Angel Eyes, yeah. Don't think they dropped off. Kelsey said they did, just me. Yeah. I can't trust any of it. Demand it from your local government. Amen. Amen, Mother of Dragons. That's right. You can't affect things on a local level, that's for sure. If you're that obnoxious person and you get other obnoxious, if you find your group of fellow obnoxious people, you can all get together and be obnoxious together. And people really don't like obnoxiousness. They want it to stop. So I think that's an easy way to get things done. But it's sad to say, but the girls are in a better place. God. You know what's sad though? It's like you're trying. Yeah. I couldn't bring myself to do it, but I was, like, I had AI do the pics of Libby and Abby and stuff. And I was tempted to ask, like, what would they look like now, like as young women. And I couldn't bring myself to do it because I just knew how, like, yeah. I knew I would get verklempt. So yeah. Yeah. But I think what Skip said about Tobe was really important too. And he talked about it on the Delphi After Dark podcast, or, a YouTube channel, probably like at least a month ago now. But he was talking about how Hannah Shakespeare had interviewed Tobe for her documentary. She interviewed Tobe in February of 2019. And actually, you know what? Let me read it, because I said I was going to send it to Christina. And okay, let me find it. Um, Let me find it. Oh my gosh. It's going to take a long time. Is it archived or what? There we go. All right. So I don't know if all you guys are aware of this, but Skip helped testify against McClellan during the contempt hearing for Brad and Andy in March of 2024. Yeah. Let them out, yeah. So he revealed that Fig was talking or colluding with McClellan. Skip was saying that he has video and audio recordings of individuals who talked to Sheriff Tobe Lesenby. So Hannah Shakespeare talking to Tobe Lesenby in February 2019. Tobe told her that they had another witness on the bridge the day the girls were abducted or murdered. This witness claimed to have seen BG leaving off of Freedom Bridge, or on Freedom Bridge. His name was Daniel Pearson. So then when there were those 3-day hearings in late July, early August 2024, Skip brought Andy evidence of Tobe saying these things about that other witness, Daniel Pearson, and Andy Baldwin wanted to subpoena Tobe to ask him about this, but McClellan objected, and he claimed it was harassment. And of course, Gull agreed with him. So basically, like when Tobe said that stuff to Hannah Shakespeare about Daniel Pearson being on the bridge, it would have helped to cement that there was another dude out there that could have been, the theoretical BG, right? And the theory goes that if Tobe had been allowed to have been, cross-examined, if that had been allowed to happen, it could have raised pretty reasonable doubt that maybe could have prevented Rick's trial from ever happening, right? Because this was before Rick's trial. So I told her, I hope you get in touch with Skip at some point. I was saying this to Erica, because he has a lot of information and receipts from much earlier. He's very knowledgeable and a thorough researcher, and he also explains it much better than I can. Also, he was hardcore harassed for even talking about another person being on the bridge. Other online sleuthers doxed everything they could on him, including his social security number. This was back in the second half of 2021. He was on a big podcast called True Crime Garage in July 2021. True Crime Garage did several interviews with him. I think it has like 1 million downloads. Skip preemptively reached out to Tobe Lesenby to ask him for comment, but got no response. But 2 days before the True Crime Garage podcast aired, Tobe put out a blackout for all investigators covering the murders of Abby and Libby. So, like, no investigators were allowed to comment on anything concerning other persons of interest or something like that. So a short time later, Murder Sheet started covering the Delphi case, I guess by the recommendation of someone in Indiana State Police. And they reached out to Skip, Murder Sheet reached out to Skip, acting like they wanted to set up an interview, but instead did a hit piece on him. So a couple months later, the subreddit Delphi Docs was established on the 13th of October, 2021. And they ruthlessly attacked Skip there. That's where he was doxxed. And it was by someone named Norak, who ended up being a close friend of Tony Liggett. I think Skip is putting together a presentation on all of his info. I don't know when he'll have it available. That's what he talked about on Snae's channel, right? I said, but I thought it might be better to reach out to him sooner because I'm probably forgetting some important info. Skip's been on Delphi for a long time. He's repeatedly tried to tell this info to anyone and everyone, and he either gets dismissed or taken out of context. I feel like if any two people need to talk, it would be you two. So, of course, then Skip extrapolated too that when that happened, right as Tobe was talking with Hannah Shakespeare in February of 2019, that was the 2-year, shortly thereafter, there was the 2-year presser anniversary of the girls' murders in which Nick McClelland was talking. And if you find footage on him, he's talking about how all law enforcement needs to go through him. Okay? Now, this is very interesting. Because Skip made a good point. Like, he speculated that that was probably the moment that law enforcement decided to hone in on a certain narrative. The certain narrative was going to be built, right? And the certain narrative always had to go through Nick McClelland, right? In order for him to give the thumbs up about what could be postulated, what evidence could go through in order to lend to a prosecutable case that he could then build, right? So basically, you see that also in what Jerry Holman says to Brad and Andy during his deposition in August of 2023, where he says, oh, I had to run it by McClelland because it had to be BG. I'm paraphrasing here. You guys really need to go back and watch that episode with Snae and Skip. But basically, Holman is then kind of reaffirming what Nick McClelland has been saying since 2019. All tips, all information coming into law enforcement needs to go through me so that I can determine what is going to be relevant in order for me to build a prosecutable case. Loopy, come here. Come here. Hush. Hush. Come here. Why are you so loud, man? You want some cuddles? You want some pats? Oh my goodness. You're so loud. Say hi at least. You want to say hi? Look at, there's the camera up there. You're so mad. Well, I'm sorry. You're really loud, man. I can post it, Dunlara. I'll put it in the description. Yeah, it's a loopy cat. It's a loopy cat. Go on. Go on. Go up there and be quiet. Why are you so loud and annoying and crazy? Why? Yeah, well, what Skip has to say is really important and it's good. They say hi. Okay, go, but go be quiet. If you're gonna go be quiet. He's so sassy, dude. He gives no shits. He's okay. He's all right. I want to show your cat now. Yeah, he's a loud one. Middle of the night kind of thing. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense because like there it looks like, and we're just speculating, right? But I think it's a compelling point. I think Skip's done some good research. Mama, he is immature. He is, yes. But I do think that why is this thing so haunted? All right, well, just don't move so much. Okay. You love the sound my cat makes? Do you want a cat? Do you want an orange cat named Loopy? He's a good boy, but he's like anywhere from 3 to 5 in the morning. It's like I can't do this anymore. Oh, it's so annoying. Stop. Oh my gosh. Why does it keep turning itself back on? Is what I want to know. How do I turn that off? I want to turn that off. I don't know how to do that. Okay. The sassy cat. He's a sassy boy. He's sassy. Sassy. Rename him Mr. Sassy. But yeah, so I hope that makes sense. Like maybe Skip will come on and like make it make sense at some point. But if anybody else wants to ever come on too, just let me know. Just reach out because like I like doing presentations. They're okay. They're kind of taxing and heavy and a little too formal for me. But it's also good because of the ADHD, so it keeps me on track. But yeah, like, and then of course my cat, like he's so loud. All our cats would like to come on. Okay, I'll just translate for them. A lot of work. They are a lot of work. Well, and then it's just so futile because it's like nothing's gonna change, you know. To Adrian's case, what is Loopy saying? I don't know. He's a Taiwanese cat. He came from Taiwan. The people that had him before were very sweet people, but they had a 5-month-old son at the time, and it was like if Loopy was doing that like consistently throughout the day, imagine just putting your 5-month-old down, and then he's like, you know, and oh, I would be so pissed because like I'm so pissed when he wakes me up, so I can't imagine. Like, I'd be like, oh my god, cat, like, so, oh my gosh. Who are you guys talking about? Oh, okay. But yeah, so I think I've talked probably long enough. Change if the online dynamic must change if it will have any impact on the kid. I agree, Lisa. It needs to. And that's part of the reason why I didn't completely leave Delphi, because it was like I have the nice platform. I very much thank you guys. Oh, thanks, Angel Eyes. You're like, they must know my cat too. Okay, thank you. I mean, I should turn on the community thing. I don't know how to do that exactly, but there's a thing that you can turn on in the community, and then everybody should be able to post their cats. Like, that would be pretty funny and cute because I would love to see everybody's cats. And then maybe this could just become the cat channel. I don't know. But rock and roll. Knowing my cat owner. But yeah, it was good to see you guys. Like, I will say, like, I only stick around for you guys, really. And I mean, there's you guys. Most of you guys are nice. It's only the bad ones that make you bad. And then just drama, like, you know. And then the real life shit gets scary too. So, Angel, she sounds very purty. Yeah, purty. I love it. Did you see your Angel? Aww. Because he's dumb. Yeah. Oh, well, I should figure out how to do it. I bet ChatGPT could help you with that. Like, I dress my dogs up like cats. Can I? Yes, you can. I love dogs too. The only reason I don't have a doggy is because my late kitty Simba, he was afraid of doggies. I don't know if Loopy would be afraid of. Loopy's like afraid of other humans. So yeah, dogs are welcome too. All cute animals are. I will say I kind of can't handle spiders. I'm sorry. Like, if you have a spider that you think's really cute, I'm like, dude, no, you can't. You're not allowed. I discriminate against you and your spider, not because like you shouldn't exist, but because you terrify me. Like, why? And like, I think snakes are cool. Like, I've seen some snakes, but I would never wear one, especially a python. No, that's not good. They like to choke people. Oh no, the boa constrictors like to do that. I can't remember. It's one of them, or maybe a lot of them. I don't know. What other things don't I really? I just really don't like spiders. I'm sorry. Yeah, is it silky rooster? Oh my god, I love roosters. I have a floofy rooster animal that is like my spirit animal. That's like sassy. I appreciate you too. I love people that's like, okay, let me ask ChatGPT now. I'm gonna have to edit this, by the way, now that I'm just like talking about silly stuff. Let me see if I can find. Okay, so you know how on YouTube, if you're a YouTube creator, you have the ability to turn on that community thing? Like, how do you do that? Let's see if it. Oh, no. Oh, sometimes I try to watch a spider video just to like see if I can do it, and I can't. I'm such a chicken. Okay. So it says YouTube community tab. You can post polls, text updates, images, super useful. Get the okay. That always show up instantly. Okay. Set up probably just double check it's not made for kids. Okay, it's not. Yeah, go to yes. No, not made for kids. Tabs home videos community. No. No, so that other people in my community can post on in the community tab thing. Like, some creators have this thing where their community can post in their own community tab. I'm not talking about just like creators posting. I'm talking about like people that like subscribers being able to leave comments in the community section. I don't really know how to explain it. Oh, community feed. Okay. What? So it says this feature doesn't exist anymore for most channels. No, I've seen them have it. Oh. No, I'm pretty sure they brought it back. I've seen some people have it. I just, like, I don't know how to do it. So, yeah, this is annoying. Because I just want to see the cute animals. Oh, it's called communities. Oh, okay. So it's different from the okay. It's not something you can turn on manually. You need an invite from YouTube. Selected for the rollout. All right. Well, I like that. I guess I'm gonna have to wait for it. I don't know. I don't know how to do that. I'll maybe figure it out. I figured out all of this stuff weirdly. Game for the nomads. Yeah. Well, I have a community tab, Critter Mama, but there's a thing called communities where where you guys would be able to post like your stuff. You would be able to post pictures of your animals. You know what I'm saying? So, like that's the whole reason. that's why I want it, because I want to see some cute animals. I don't want to see any spiders, but I want to see some cute animals. You want to say hi? Can't make up your minds. It's okay, Critter Mama. Like I don't know how to work it. Loopy. Why are you so angry? Oh boy. He's probably gonna start licking his butt or something. Dog. Yeah. Well, I would love to see you guys as aminos, but yeah, I'd have to sit down and figure it out. But I did figure out this shit, so I figured out some stuff. Maybe I'll like. He is so cute. You're so cute, kind of. Loopy, you're kind of cute. All right. All right. Well, you guys go and have a good night. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for always supporting me. And I really appreciate it. Like, I don't know, if I didn't have like you guys around, I wouldn't still be here, honestly. Like, I wouldn't still be in Delphi or anything like that. So I'm really, really grateful to have the community that I do. Like, but I think tomorrow the Unified Demand will be going live, so I'm excited for that. And would be a tag team. Do you, Angel Eyes? Would you like an orange cat? He gets pretty vocal anywhere from like 3 to 5 a.m. though. I'm just giving you a heads up. If anybody wants this here orange cat, I appreciate you guys too. Thank you guys. And I think Unified Demand will be tomorrow, right? Yes, I think so. So that'll be good. But please do subscribe if you aren't already to Unified Demand, and I'll keep a lookout for you guys' live too. And then if anybody knows, okay, it was good to see you, Deb. It was good to see all of you guys. And if anybody needs an orange cat that sings in the middle of the night, early morning, I know someone that has an orange cat that does that. So yes. Okay. Well, I love you all. You all have a good night. Have a good rest of your week. Have a great weekend. And it'll probably be a week or two before I come live again. Um, it's going to be work starting up all over again. So it's that time of month that then I go into work mode. So so I will see you guys soon-ish, and I hope you all take care in the meantime. Yeah. Okay, thank you.